Dios le bendiga, iglesia. Nos da mucho gusto
God bless you, Church of God.
vernos en vivo en
It is a blessing that you are here with us live.
pido a todos
I ask all of you this moment,
atmósfera de adoración y
this beautiful atmosphere of worship,
en este momento, en este viernes bueno,
in this moment, in this Good Friday.
darle gracias a nuestro Dios
I invite you to give thanks to our God,
por morir en la cruz por nuestros
for He died for us at the cross
pecados.
for our sins.
Les invito
I invite you
a cantos de adoración.
to sing some songs of worship.
Diste tu vida en el Calvario, sufriste ahí por mí, lo diste todo por salvarme a mí. Tú padeciste en mi lugar, siempre yo te voy a amar, tu sangre diste por amor a mí. No sé cómo pagar lo que hiciste por mí. Te doy mi corazón a ti. Santo Cordero, Dios de los cielos, te quiero adorar, te quiero exaltar. Y el universo y el mundo entero te tiene que adorar, te tiene que exaltar. Y Santo Cordero, Dios de los cielos, te quiero adorar, te quiero exaltar. Y el universo y el mundo entero te tiene que adorar, te tiene que exaltar. Diste tu vida en el Calvario, sufriste ahí por mí, lo diste todo por salvarme a mí. Tú padeciste en mi lugar, siempre yo te voy a amar, tu sangre diste por amor a mí. No sé cómo pagar lo que hiciste por mí. Te doy mi corazón a ti. Y Santo Cordero, Dios de los cielos, te quiero adorar, te quiero exaltar. Y el universo y el mundo entero te tiene que adorar, te tiene que exaltar. La tierra retumbó, la piedra él quitó, su amor perfecto siempre vencerá. El Rey resucitó, la muerte derrotó, ganado la victoria. Por siempre a él la gloria es, por siempre a él exaltado es, por siempre a él es digno, vivo está, vivo está. Por siempre a él la gloria es, por siempre a él exaltado es, por siempre a él
Oh, glory to God. To He be the glory. To He be the honor. To He be the praise for all eternity. We're so grateful to God because God had in His mind to come to die, to come to the earth and die for us at the cross, to the world of enslavement that we are in. We, welcome all of you who are hearing us. Greetings to all of you. Invite your family, invite, you know, share, with your family, with your friends that they can hear this message this evening. We're going to be speaking today about the 7 words that, Jesus Christ expressed at the cross. At Calvary, we're going to take him one by one. But before we begin the study, I want to let you know that if God allows us, at 10 in the morning, at home, you take a piece of bread and some grape juice, 100% grape juice, with your family together on the table. At 9:30, we're gonna have the communion, the ceremony, so that we can participate together. And together, we're not able to find the foods and the drinks for the communion, but at home, everyone together at 9:30 in your home, you're going to participate with me. Do not forget at 9:30 on Sunday at home and live. We'll be participating together with communion. A piece of bread or a cracker or so. Um, very small cup of juice, 100% grape juice, with your husband, with your wife, with your kids. You can participate together. And I can bless the ceremony here and those who are going to participate together. So please don't forget, at 9:30 on Sunday. At 9:30 on Sunday. God bless all of you, Church of God. God bless every single one of you. And we feel the so empty here, and I'm missing every single one of you, not being able to see you physically, to hug you, to embrace you. I miss that so much. I miss you as your pastor. I so miss you so much. And let's pray so that this situation, this crisis, this epidemic that is happening around us, that God may bless them greatly. And many people are going through these situations. However, through all of this, God is going to bless us. Something better is approaching us. What are the 7 words we're going to speak about? The 7 words that Jesus spoke in Luke chapter 23, verse 34. The first word is, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And this first word in Jerusalem, that this word he used, it is a word very unknown to many people. It means that God made himself man, and he, in a comprehensible way, the sweat of his brow and sympathy that he was showing to the human heart, the human spirit, and he found himself on this cross. He cries out a prayer, says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And before Calvary, Jesus had pointed out what was the condition to be able to receive forgiveness. And in communion, on the Last Supper, he took the symbolism of the fruit wine grape juice, that it was going to be for the remission of sins. And we go to Matthew 26, verse 28. Now, this forgiveness is not only for the soldier and the soldiers who slapped him, they spat on him, they beat him. It wasn't only for Pontius Pilate and Herodes the king. It's only not for those poor, impoverished people who were there and unhappy people, but his petition and crying out of forgiveness is for all the sinners from his time, from the future, from all time. Beloved brothers and sisters and friends who are seeing me right now, I want to tell you this is a forgiveness that's universal. And in verse, we read this word, this word here, of comfort from the heart over, to human beings. From eternal love, with eternal love, I have loved you. I have brought forth with grace. How beautiful is that to know that we have been forgiven by God, by Jesus Christ, that at the cross of Calvary, He's seen all these people, how these people were eating with Him, and now they are seeing Him and crying out, crucify Him. He elevates a prayer to God the Father. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do. Luke, we read here in Luke 23:43, and you will be with me in paradise. And there was two men who were there at Calvary, and two evildoers there. And what they did had criminals who have committed some crimes during a period of time where Jesus was living in. And both of them were on a cross, nailed as well, as an instrument that the Romans utilized as torture against a warning and of shame and those who rebelled against the Roman Empire. And one of them cried out, filled with help me, asked for help, but with conditions. He was crying out to God, one of the thieves that were next to him, and you are the Christ, then save yourself. And one of them says to him, this thief, that he was defiant towards those that were mocking them there in the experience of the cross. And he says to him, if you are the Christ, then get out from the cross and then save us. And the people there, you who bring down the temple and in 3 days you will re-edify, rebuild it, then come down from there, and you are the Son of God. And while the other thief, he saw that the companion of death there was offending him and said, hey, you don't fear God, seeing that he is under the same sentence of condemnation. We justly deserve this, but this man has not done anything wrong. And this thief, looking back, he saw the sin of his life, but in the last instances of his human existence, in the last instance of his human existence, he saw Christ at the cross. And there he saw a being that felt for him infinite compassion. And this man, seeing everything that was being done to Jesus, the mocking, how he was humiliated, he was moved by a mixture of anguish and hope. And he shouted deeply from his heart, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus, he responded very quickly. He said, today you will be with me in paradise. Look at friends who are seeing me. Through Jesus Christ, the destruction of this man soon turned into hope and eternal victory. And I want to say this to you once again. And it didn't matter the condition where he was presently in or his past. When he told Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus Christ, with those compassionate you know, eyes. Today you will be with me in paradise. That through Jesus Christ, the destruction or bringing down of this man instantaneously turned into victory and hope. And D.L. Moody said in an occasion, what is the vision of the eyes that can see in death? Majesty, glory in the destruction, and victory in enslavement and royalty. And I'm going to say it once again. And Dr. D.L. Moody said on an occasion, what is the vision of the eyes that could see in the death, life and ruin, majesty in the confrontation, glory in destruction, and victory in enslavement? How beautiful is that right there? And in the book of John, chapter 19:26, this third word has a lot of, and this is where Jesus, was across the Calvary, and he was being crucified. He shed in his blood, and there he sees in John 19:26-27, he sees his mother. Jesus said to his mother, "Woman, this is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "This is your mother." And it's John. And he was going to be now responsible for caring for his mother. Now we can see here Mary filled with a lot of pain and anguish. And Jesus here sentenced to death. That amazing, Christ, the Son who has, raised the paralytic, who healed the blind and the sick. And Mary, with the sorrow which was filled in her heart, she said, I cannot believe this is happening. Perhaps in her thought, she was remembering the prophecy that was given to her by the elder Simeon. And it was told to Mary in the temple, this is place for fall. And the first signal that these people, in the sword, a sword will trespass him. That it will be uncovered the thoughts of many hearts. And as a mother, she was filled with profound and deep sorrow, which appeared that it would not, be satisfied. And it was God, but he was his son in his body, and Jesus Christ as a son of God. The Son of God was Jesus, and it was Christ, the Messiah. Remember that mother that was sorrowful there, that woman who was crying with tears of pain, she was in suffering. The mother that raised him with tender love and so much care for him, to see him in that moment where he could only receive the affection, of his beloved disciple John, and his loving disciple, at the same time that the great blessing that Mary can give back to John. And that is why as he lifts his head, when he lifts his head, he says, "Woman, here is your son, here is your mother. And hear me, you who hear me." And in Christ, the most difficult circumstance, and I'm going to repeat this once again, is that Jesus Christ, he fulfilled his calling, his family calling, his responsibility in the family, no matter what he went through to the end. And what was happening, we can see that he did not concentrate, on the suffering and the nearing of his death, but in that instance, he was looking at the needs of others. Even though he was, and I want to say this again, he was in physical agony and pain. We can see that even in his pain and agony, he did not concentrate in his own suffering or the nearing of his death, but he was concentrating on the needs of other people. Let us practice the example of the love demonstrated, to, for the parents, for your parents, for your mothers and father. Do not allow any work or any responsibility of life or things of life can deprive our parents of us so there may be joy and satisfaction with the rest of the days that your parents may have, left in their life. What a blessing do we have with this great example of Jesus. And now we have the fourth word in Matthew 27, verse 46. There's a word here. It says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me? I invite you right now, this moment. I want you to gather your thoughts and go on an imaginary voyage. And let's imagine, it is a Friday, it is 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and attentively let's observe the Son of God at the cross of Calvary. And we can see that his flesh is wounded and lacerated because of the lashes from the Roman soldiers. And his arms has been nails passing through the flesh in his hands, and we can see the pain. His head has been marked and pierced by the crown, of thorns. And right there in his position, receiving a lot of insults and offenses from people and mocking, as he suffered that martyrism from, what the evildoers have, hurt him. And can you imagine that right now, that the Bible says in Matthew 23, says that there was darkness over all the earth to the ninth hour. And we can see from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. for 3 hours of duration, there was a blanket of darkness that engulfed that scene, because the Son of God is the author of redemption. And I'm going to repeat, a duration of 3 hours, a blanket of darkness that engulfed the scene where the Son of God was the author of that redemption. And Jesus Christ is synonymous to the sin of humanity and the sadness of nature. In Christ, the Lamb of God, who taketh away the sin of the world. He felt alone because of the separation from sin. It was your sin, it was my sin, and all sin of humanity. Only He can, exhale the sin, or take away the sin of the world. In Isaiah, the Word of God tells us in this way: surely He took away, our wounds. He felt our pain, and we, wounded Him, the wounded of God, and He was broken for our transgressions, for our sins. He was beaten, and then for the punishment of our sin, and by His stripes we have been cured. What a blessing. Can you imagine Jesus dying for you? Can you imagine Jesus paying the price that you and I should have, paid for at the cross of Calvary? Can you imagine Jesus Christ at the cross? Wow, He was suffering for you and suffering for me. And right there, that question that He tells the Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me? Why have you abandoned me? And even though Jesus Christ felt, alone at the cross, I want to tell you something very important. And perhaps you may feel that way this moment. You may feel because you are quarantined, or you cannot go out because of what is going on around us. And you feel, and are maybe going through a very sad situation or a problem in your life, in your family or with your family, and you feel like you're stuck in your room, in your house. You keep looking at these four doors around you. Let me tell you something. When that blanket of darkness, when that darkness engulfed the whole world, and the light of the sun was shut for that time, God, his Father, was observing the situation of his Son. And Jesus Christ, perhaps he felt alone. He felt that way, alone, while he was on the cross. But the Father and the angel, in the most difficult time and trying time, a trial in his life, but God is observing through the window of our life. We are not alone in any given moment. And he never is going to leave us alone. He is there. He is next to you. Perhaps you don't see him, you don't feel him. Let me tell you something. God is there. He is observing through the window of your life. In that situation, God knows what you're going through. He's going to encourage you. He's going to give you strength. And God is going to get you out of the situation that you're in. And this word that we see here, I have thirst. I am thirsty. And in John 19:28, and I thirst. In that time, and he felt the wounds and it was inflicted upon him. The product of the crucifixion, and he, perfect humanity, he revealed a spiritual thirst that cannot be satisfied, but only be satisfied by God's presence. The Lord Jesus, he wanted thirst. He thirsted for the Father. And this thirst was so, this is a more deeply needed thirst, more than a physical thirst. Father God, why have you forsaken me? And feels thirst for those that are marginalized, for those that are mistreated. God is feeling thirst for these people still, for the wives that are abused, for the people who are deprived of their rights or human rights that are violated. Our Lord Jesus Christ, he experienced physical thirst and spiritual thirst, but he was victorious. He never spoke a word of complaint, of mumbling, or grumbling, or complaint at all. At at the cross of Calvary, he was victorious, redeeming us from sin forever. Praise the living God. Glory to the Lord our God. That he came to die for us at the cross, at Calvary. And I know that you're going through a very tough time in your life. I know that the time that you're going through, don't complain. Be patient. Be still. God knows what he is doing. God is fighting your battle. Do not worry about it. In any given moment, you're going to get out of this situation. And then there's going to be a crying out of victory. It is finished. And this word right here in Greek, it is a word with a significance that is very glorious and is authoritative. And he know anticipatingly in John 19:30. And because of these reasons, he had an eternal plan that the Apostle Paul describes as a mystery that was hidden. In verse 26. And this plan was announced from Adam and Eve at the beginning in Genesis chapter 3 verse 15. And now from one generation to another generation, and with a telescopic prophetic eye, he was able to visualize this redemptive plan that Christ, how God has said he was going to do his plan. And Gabriel, the messenger angel, he told Mary, that he would save his people. He would have a son named Jesus. He would save his people. And since Jesus is the Savior, he's Emmanuel, God is with us, as Matthew chapter 1:23 says. My beloved brothers and sisters, Satan and his demonic angels, they try to, day by day, year by year, always try to get Jesus to fall. and to cause him to stumble and fail. And Jesus and Satan thought that he got the job done. And let me tell you, and the seed of the woman, he tried to at the heel, tried to hurt or harm or strike at the heel. But let me tell you, he thought he hadn't beat. But all of a sudden, an echo, a loud voice was heard throughout the whole universe, because the champion of the universe has come, and the word was heard: "It is finished. It is finished." And redemption of mankind. Wow. And through this word in John 19:30, and God, he showed, he demonstrated his character before, humankind, and the association with Satan and with the righteous government of God. That association became canceled out or annulled, and the propitiation of his sins, for they were reconciled with God and humankind. At Calvary, he took God's hand and humankind's hand, and he united them together, a reconciliation in God's hand and mankind's hand. Jesus Christ brought them together at the cross at Calvary. We have been reconciled by he who died for us at the cross. There is no reason why anybody would be lost. And I gotta say this again, there's no reason why anybody will be lost. All you have to do, or what the sinner has to do, is to go to the Father in the name of Jesus Christ. The Bible says that there's no salvation and no other, for there's no name under the heavens, no name that we could be saved. And I'm going to repeat this again. And you're hearing me right now. There's no person can heal you, can save you. No man can save you. Nobody died for you at the cross of Calvary. Only Jesus Christ came to this earth, and he died, and he did it for you. At the cross of Calvary, he gave his own life. Nobody took his life from him. He gave his life, himself. There's no name given on this earth, given to anyone, that you could be saved. And I'm going to give you the seventh word. And John in 23, Father God, in Luke 23:46, Father, in your hands I commend my spirit. The seventh word, and knowing the example, Father, in his prayer, and his last prayer, the seventh word and the first word have a little bit of a, connection there, because he started with Father in the prayer, and Father with the seventh word was like a prayer too as well. Father, in your hands I commend my spirit. You have redeemed me, God, O truth, O Lord, faithful God. God is always submissive to the will of the celestial Father. And for him, submission, he was always obedient to his Father to the end. And it was his death, Jesus Christ brought forth the culmination of all the rituals. Or we don't need any type of lamb for sacrificial lamb anymore for propitiation of our sins. No, because he taken away, the Lamb of God, Jesus Christ, once and for all took away the sin of the world. And I pray to God that your heart has been filled, and right there where you are, that this word, I want you to pray and say, Lord, I come to you. I've heard your word. I repent. I want to give my life to you, God. I have left you, God. I have forsaken you, God. But I want to come back to you, God. And I want you to come into my heart, God. I want to come back to you. Lord, I love you. Forgive my sins. I know that I have offended you, God. I had transgressed against you. Father God, forgive me in the name of Jesus Christ. Friends and family, if you have accepted Christ as your Savior, I invite you here to our church, 711 East 4th Street in West Liberty, Iowa. We invite you here as a family with open arms, and anything that we are able to help you, we're here. We want to bless you, and you're going to be blessed as well. Do not forget that we're going to be, you know, at 9:30 a.m. We're going to have communion, and at 10 a.m. we'll be sharing the word. I want to bless you with the word of God. The Lord bless you and keep you. He let His face shine before you and have mercy upon you. The Lord, He's going to show His face before you, and you're going to place His name before your children. And God is going to bless. Father God, bless your people. Bless every friend who's watching us right now, Father God. That you may bring a reflection to every person, to every heart. That there is a reflection in their heart. And we know that we can say that we need you. Father God, thank you. In the name of Jesus, God bless you. Hugs and embrace all of you.
Divino y santo, el Cordero inmolado en la cruz. Y nuevo canto levantaremos al que en su trono está. Y santo, 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 Dios todopoderoso, quién fue, quién es y quién vendrá. La creación te canta, Hosana al gran yo soy. Tú eres mi todo y yo te adoraré. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Santo, 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 Dios todopoderoso.